No. N-O. Let's say it together. No. In this video, I'm going to talk about why saying no can lead to more yeses later on. And one thing I want to preface real quick here, I'm not saying that you shouldn't hang out with friends. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say yes to going to places and events and parties. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that my advice is everyone should be more selective with who and what they say yes to, right? So many people feel like they're guilted into it, or so many people feel like they're obligated to always say yes to people, even when they really just don't have to, right? Like if someone asks you, like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And you say, oh, I don't know. You saying I don't know, like them, a lot of times they think that they're they have the right to your time now, since that they know you're not doing anything. Like, that's not how it works, dude. That's not how it works. So let's talk about the power of selective commitment, right? So the reason why I believe that saying no will lead to more yeses later on is because you're being more selective with who and what you give your time to. So I've mentioned in previous videos before, I actually have a video talking about the dark side of ADHD. Feel free to check that out. I'll put a link to this video in it. But I talked about in that video how, everyone only has a certain amount of time, and it's very hard to focus, and it's very hard to get things done when you're always distracted. It's the same thing with giving people and things your time. So when you say no to low value opportunities, distractions, and time wasters, that actually allows you to focus on what truly matters. So when you reserve your energy and time for high impact opportunities, you position yourself for bigger yeses down the line. So this can apply to, relationships. This can apply to, career, job, business opportunities, or even your personal life, right? I've mentioned before how I live on my own. So I see my parents roughly once a week, right? And I have a woman as well. I see her about twice a week. But when I see them, it's high quality time. I'm not sitting there on my phone scrolling TikTok. I'm not sitting there, doing a bunch of stuff that is dumb. Like, I'm spending high quality time with them. So I think everyone in life, instead of always saying yes to going to this party or going to this, backyard barbecue or whatever you guys do around the world. I'm not saying don't do that, but what I am saying is when you're invited to go somewhere, really sit there in your own head for a second and think to myself, okay, who's going to be there? And will it be worth my time? Because if everyone's going to be there, is it really going to be fun? Is it really going to be the best thing in the world? Just really ask yourself who you're going to surround yourself with and what value you're going to get out of that exchange. Because let's be honest, everything in the universe is an exchange of value. When a guy and a girl hang out, they exchange value, right? She has a good time hanging out with him. He has a good time hanging out with her. When parents, when they raise a kid, they get value because, they put a lot of time, work, and money to raising their kid. But guess what? They continue the bloodline and they're very proud to raise sons and daughters, right? So there's always going to be an exchange of value in the universe. And I think it's very important that you're more selective with where and who you share that value with. Second point I want to bring up, and this actually ties into the same topic of value, but scarcity actually creates value. So I'm not saying you got to sit there and try to be mysterious or anything. I'm not saying that. But when you say no more often, you actually increase your perceived value. So whether that's in sales, relationships, business, being selective makes people respect your time and decisions more, making them more likely to say yes when you finally make an ask. And I have experienced this for sure in my life, right? Because, I get invited a lot all the time to, go out to the bars or whatever. And I'm not a bar person. It's not something that interests me. I've been to the bars before, and I've been out, drinking with friends or, like my girl, whatever. But the thing is, it's just not something that I enjoy doing a lot. I enjoy doing other things like hiking, going outside, playing sports, like working out, going to the gym, or just chilling, things like that. And I've noticed that because I say no more often than not, when I do say yes, my friends are really excited. So this definitely applies, whether it's to personal relationships, business, or even just yourself, right? So the third point I want to make too is just that long-term versus short-term thinking. So a lot of times, and I know this based off just my own experience and just talking with other people, but a lot of times many people say yes out of that FOMO, right? Like that fear of missing out or that immediate gratification. But I really like challenge you guys to really try to implement, more of that delayed gratification. Like those who play the long game understand that patience and discipline leads to better outcomes. Turning down short-term gains can lead to much bigger yeses in the future. And that's actually another good point too, right? Like always think about, I said this in the first point about the value, always think about the value and gain you're going to get. It might be like sometimes if you get invited to go hang out with some friends from high school, it might be a gain. You might actually think, okay, I'm going to get a lot of value out of this. I'm going to have a good time, and I haven't seen these people in a long time, and I want to go. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. Like I said, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But what I am saying is if you sit there and say, I'm not a big fan of these people. They're just going to talk about random stuff that doesn't matter. They're not good influences on me. And they do a bunch of stuff that I'm not a fan of. I'm not going to go. That's probably the right decision. But that's for you to decide in your personal life and the people you surround yourself with. And I want to kind of tie this all together with a quick story. So I grew up like in a suburb, but behind the suburb we had this big cornfield. So I would see like this farmer out there with like big equipment, and it was like a one-man show, and he had this huge farm. I mean, it wasn't like ginormous, but it was probably like if I had to guess, maybe like 5, 6, 7 acres. It was a decent sized farm, and it just made me think of this. Imagine like you're a farmer with a bag of high quality seeds. Right, so if you're that farmer, you have two choices. You could either scatter them randomly across any patch of soil that you find, hoping some will grow, or you could be selective, choosing only the most fertile land, ensuring the crops thrive. So if you were to do the first approach, that would lead to weak, scattered plants, many of which would never grow. But the second approach, saying no to bad soil, no to bad influence, no to bad exchanges of value, that would allow him to cultivate a strong, abundant harvest. Right? So in life, your time and energy are like those seeds. If you say yes to every opportunity, favor, or distraction, you're spreading yourself too thin and end up with weak results. But by saying no to what doesn't serve you, you reserve your yes for the right opportunities, leading to stronger relationships, better business deals, and bigger success down the line. So wanted to tie it in with kind of that story I thought of there. And, drop a comment below. I'd love to kind of get your guys' story on what you think and what you have said no to in the past, what you've maybe said yes to in the past, and what things that you think bring you value and what things that you think don't. But either way, if you got value out of this video, no pun intended, feel free to subscribe. We're going to have more videos coming out every week, and look forward to speaking to you guys again.